Hello and welcome to 25 Flat Earth Bad Memes. 1. The horizon is always at eye level. I have never seen any flat earther provide evidence that this is true. On the spherical Earth, the horizon would drop very gradually as you rose up, so that even at about 7 miles high, it would only be about 3 degrees below the horizontal. No flat earther has ever proven that it's not. 2. The horizon is always flat. On a sphere the size of the Earth, it would look locally flat on the scale of human beings. There is no reason why we would see curvature. We would only see its effects indirectly. 3. A telescope can bring a ship back into view once it's over the horizon. That is just a lie. There isn't really much more to say about that. It's not factual. If it was true, ships would never have had crow's nests. They would have just used telescopes. 4. The Earth is spinning at 1,000 miles per hour. Why don't we feel it? The Earth is not spinning at 1,000 miles per hour. It is rotating at 15 degrees per hour, or one rotation every 24 hours. That's very, very slow. It's a very gentle rotation. The effects of this rotation on anything on Earth are almost negligible. There is no reason why we would feel it. 5. The Earth is moving round the Sun at 67 miles per hour, 67,000 miles per hour. Why don't we feel it? The Earth and everything on the Earth is in free fall around the Sun. Everything in a gravitational field accelerates at the same rate, so everything moves together. So there's no reason why we would feel it. And the Earth is moving through a vacuum. So the fact that we're in free fall around the Sun means that there's no reason why we'd be aware of our movement around the Sun. 6. The atmosphere shouldn't rotate with the Earth. The surface area of the Earth is about 200 million square miles. The atmosphere is about 20 miles thick. Well, no, it's much thicker than that. But about 99% of the atmosphere is within 20 miles of sea level. This means that the atmosphere forms essentially a thin film of gas over the surface of the Earth. The idea that it wouldn't be rotating with the Earth is ludicrous. The atmosphere is made up of gas. A gas is made up of molecules and atoms that are moving around freely. So they're constantly bouncing off everything in their environment. So the atmosphere is constantly interacting with the surface of the Earth. Also, all animals breathe air and expel air from their lungs. So that's another way in which the atmosphere is constantly being kept in the same reference frame as the Earth. Also, plants absorb carbon dioxide and oxygen and expel them. So there are a whole range of ways in which the atmosphere is constantly interacting with the Earth. So the idea it wouldn't be rotating with the Earth, like I said, is ludicrous. 7. East to west flights should take longer than west to east flights. If I was sitting on a train that was moving at 100 miles per hour, and I was at one end of a carriage, and I had a little remote-controlled toy helicopter on the table, and I flew it at 5 miles per hour up to the other end of the carriage and landed it on a table there, and then flew it back to my table, it would take the same amount of time going up the carriage as coming down the carriage, because both tables and the air in the carriage are all in the same frame of reference. For someone standing on the track, the helicopter would fly at 105 miles per hour up the way and 95 miles an hour down the way. But that's only because they're in a different frame of reference. On Earth, when you take off from a an airport and land at another airport, both airports are in the same frame of reference and the atmosphere is in the same frame of reference as the plane, as both of the airports. So it's just like the helicopter flying up and down a carriage on a train. 8. Airplanes would fly into space on a spherical Earth. One of the more ridiculous claims is premised on the idea that it would be impossible for a plane to fly on a spherical Earth. Well, what evidence have you got that that's true? What evidence have you got that airplanes don't adjust to the curvature of the Earth? I mean, I'm no expert on air travel, I don't pretend to be, but I know that airplanes can detect what altitude they're at, and I know that they adjust to the vertical according to the direction of the gravitational field. So they would adjust to the curvature of the Earth as they were flying. I don't really see any problem with that. The idea that they would fly into space on a spherical Earth is like something a 5-year-old would think. Kansas is as flat as a pancake, number 9. This is referring to a slightly tongue-in-cheek study that some scientists did looking into the claim that Kansas is as flat as a pancake. Now what they did was they took an elevation profile of Kansas and showed that it was very flat. That doesn't mean that Kansas doesn't curve with the Earth. That's not what they meant. There's no implication in this scientific study that there was no curvature. And it's dishonest of flat earthers to imply that there is. An elevation is taken as the distance from the centre from the Earth. So, although each point has a very similar elevation, that doesn't mean that it doesn't curve. That's not what they meant. There's no implication that they meant that, and it's dishonest to say that there is. 10. Everything is a lie. No, it's not. Everything is not a lie. There are lies that are told, but just because one thing is a lie doesn't mean that another thing is a lie. You must look at everything on its own merits and judge it independently according to the evidence that supports it. 11. You can prove anything with mathematics. No, you can't. That's just a complete lie. It's one of these statements that flat earthers use when they're presented with mathematical arguments that show that what they believe is ridiculous. They can't actually disprove the argument, so they make a vapid comment about mathematics. Interestingly enough, it's never a comment that appears on any flat earth videos that use mathematics. It's only ever used when mathematics is used to disprove their ridiculous beliefs. And it's not true anyway. You can't prove anything with mathematics. 12. Reflections on the sea would look curved on a spherical Earth. If you're standing next to the sea, the horizon will be about 3 miles away. However, the last 2 miles of the surface of the sea that you can see are bunched up in a very narrow range in your visual field. Most of what you're seeing is within the first mile. The amount that the water would curve over a mile is 0.01 degrees. So the idea that a reflection would look curved on the sea is just completely ridiculous. 13. The sun creates hot spots on the clouds. This is referring to when people have sent cameras up into space and they've seen what they call a hot spot on the clouds, which they think means the sun is directly above those clouds. What they're seeing is a reflection. It's not a hot spot, it's a reflection. 14. The sun is only 3,000 miles away. There's no evidence to support this whatsoever. If you look at the sun with a solar filter, you see that it is exactly the same size in the sky all day. These flat earth videos that supposedly show the sun changing size are only showing what's called lens flare. It's an effect where the sun is so bright that it bleaches out part of the image and looks bigger than it actually is. That's all that's happening. You eliminate it with a solar filter, you see that it's exactly the same size all day. Also, you see the same sunspots on the sun all day, showing that you're seeing the same face of it. So there is no way that the sun is moving above a flat earth about 3,000 miles above it. Because if it was, the size of the sun would change significantly over a day and you would see different sides of the sun. 15. You can see the sun and moon at the same time. Yeah, and so? I've never understood this. Why wouldn't you see them at the same time? The moon is orbiting the Earth. There are going to be times when both the sun and the moon are visible. I don't understand why they wouldn't be. 16. The moon would suck satellites out of the Earth's orbit. No, it wouldn't, because at that distance, the moon's gravitational pull is very weak. The Earth's gravitational pull is much stronger. The moon will have a very slight effect on the paths of satellites. 17. There are no tides on lakes. Yes, there are. They're just very small. 18. How come gravity can hold the oceans to the Earth, but insects can fly and we aren't crushed? The amount that the gravitational force exerts on any one object is called the weight of the object. And it's directly proportional to the mass of the object. It's a fact that you will have used if you've ever weighed yourself on bathroom scales. Your weight is directly proportional to your mass. Your weight is the force that the gravitational field is exerting on you. Insects have a very small mass, therefore the force acting on them is very small. And we know what our own weight is because we can feel it and we know that it's not strong enough to crush us. The total force acting on all the oceans on the Earth is going to be huge because the oceans have got a massive amount of water. 19. How come Polaris is always in the same place? It's not. 3000 BC, a star called Thuban was the pole star. So Polaris isn't always in the same place. The stars shift very gradually over centuries. 20. We should see different stars in winter than in summer. We should, and we do. I don't know why flat earthers keep saying this, when we do see different stars in summer than in winter. 21. Water always finds a level. This is not a property of water, it's a behaviour of water under very specific circumstances. It requires that there is a surrounding gas exerting pressure on the water to keep it as a liquid. The water must be in the right temperature range, and also there must be a gravitational force pulling the water down. Now, as explained in a video recently, any horizontal surface within the water must all be at the same depth. Therefore, the top of the water must be flat and horizontal. This is only a behaviour of water. It's not a property. 22. Buildings in the distance should be leaning away from you. No, they shouldn't, not noticeably anyway. If a building is 20 miles away from you, the amount that it's leaning away due to the curvature of the Earth is about 0.3 degrees. That wouldn't be visible to the naked eye. 23. If you jump in the air, you shouldn't land in the same place. Well, that's like saying if you're on a train and you jump in the air, you should fly back and hit the end of the carriage. You don't, because you, the train, and all the air in the carriage are in the same frame of reference. So when you jump, you move with the train and you land in the same place in the carriage. It's just the same on Earth. 24. The sun's diverging rays prove that the sun is close. This is referring to crepuscular rays. They're parallel, and perspective makes them look like they meet at the vanishing point. This argument doesn't even work for a flat Earth anyway, because the flat Earth would have the sun about 3,000 miles away. And if the sun was 3,000 miles away, all the rays from it would be parallel locally at anyone's location anyway. So it doesn't even stand up as a flat Earth argument. Gravity is just a theory. This is about as ignorant as it gets. Creationists used to always say this about evolution, it's just a theory. It just shows that you don't understand what a theory is. A theory is a comprehensive scientific system for understanding not just facts that are the way the world is now, but the way the world will change over time, and predicts potential future states of the world. Because of this, it can never be proven 100% true. Because just because the world behaves in a certain way now doesn't mean it will always behave like that. There is no way of proving a theory 100% true. So a theory is as good as it gets. So to the people who use this phrase, it's just a theory, I would ask you, yeah, and what have you got that's better than a theory? because a theory is as good as it gets. The end.